All right. All right. So thank you guys for coming. Welcome to tonight's parent webinar. This is going to be all about the college admissions essay. It's directly going to be kind of geared towards parents, but I will also kind of be incorporating a student's point of view as well with this. So my name is Maraiah Roseboro. I'm Crosby's near peer senior advisor, meaning I mainly work with junior and seniors when it comes to the college application process. But you'll also see me in other parts of Crosby, like tonight with webinars, workshops, presentations, academies, on all so on and so forth. So I specifically actually handle the essay review service here at Crosby Scholars, which is why I'm here tonight, kind of shedding some insight and light on this big topic of the admissions essay. So while this presentation is going to be geared towards parents, like I said, I also have some pointers for students just in case we have a Crosby Scholar on the call tonight. So we're just going to kind of jump right in. So when it comes to tonight's content, I try to keep it very clean and concise. We're going to be delving into understanding what the college admissions essay is. So I know that it can be kind of a big topic in terms of misconceptions and confusion. So it's really tonight is just about trying to clear that up for everyone. Then we'll get into what makes a strong college essay, so elements of that. And then I wanted to get into kind of the quote unquote do's and don'ts of the admissions essay for both students and parents. And then we'll wrap it up by talking about resources and sort of planning, meaning what resources we recommend here at Crosby and how to hold your student accountable for this upcoming summer as well as fall semester. So we're just going to jump right in. So starting off with clearing up what the college admissions essay even is. So the admissions essay is sort of a personal statement that accompanies your student's entire college application. So your student can start thinking of topics as early as they want to, but usually our students start really hunkering down to brainstorm within their junior year, with the summer before their senior year being the most popular time to start beginning that drafting of it. So this essay is really going to give your student the opportunity to really personalize and humanize their application, meaning that admissions officers can get an understanding of the student's personality, morals, values, character, right? Oh, we have another person coming in. So that is not usually shown through things like test scores, grades, and a name, right? So for my people who are joining, we are just kind of going over what is the admissions essay. And then lastly, the admissions essay kind of demonstrates the students' writing capabilities as well as their connection to a college's values and mission. So this is an important piece that I think is kind of overlooked and not thought about as much whenever we're talking about the admissions essay. This is the admission essay is not just about, writing a narrative, but it's also about showcasing one's skills and readiness for the next stage of their academic journey, which is going to include, pursuing higher education. So admissions officers are also kind of assessing your students' competencies. So it's just an all around great opportunity for a student to really talk to admissions officers without directly talking to them, if that makes sense. So again, it's really just a great chance for them to stand out against the crowd, communicate that they know who they are and that they really are ready for their future endeavors, whatever that may include. So, I also want to mention that admissions officers are aware that they are reading pieces from high school students, right? So, they're not reading these expecting, fourth year university student level writing. They are aware that these are high school juniors, high school seniors, and they are aware of their competencies and levels. So it's not unrealistic. And I know that that can kind of be a big thing that's very daunting for students. They feel like they have to live up to really big shoes or shoot big shoes to fill, but admissions officers are not unreasonable. So that's another thing that I think is great to point out for these. So the next two slides are just going to be the official Common App prompts for the 2024 to 2025 cycle. These are usually the same every year. So, sometimes they're like, just in case, they might change. They usually never do. So if this is your first time hearing of Common App stands for Common Application, which is the main application students will use to apply to their schools come the fall of their senior year. So it's a really simple website in which students make an account and essentially have all of their immediate access to all the schools that they're trying to apply to. It's all in one great spot, and it's just really convenient. So I'm going to go through each of these so that parents can kind of understand what sort of nature the admissions officers are looking for when reading student essays. So the first one is Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Notice the words meaningful, incomplete, and without it. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? Notice the words challenge, setback, failure, learn from, etc. Next one is reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? Notice the words question, challenge, belief, idea, and outcome. Next is reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? Once you notice the words gratitude and motivate. And then lastly, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. Notice the words personal growth, new understanding, and realization. So my goal with reading these is and my hopes were that everyone begins to understand the importance of pushing the envelope with these admissions essays. Admissions readers want students to not only recount a story or a personality attribute or a personal experience or recount your morals. They want the real introspective why of it all, right? Parents, this is the kind of self exploration and discovery that your students will be embarking on when they begin this essay writing process journey. So they really need to dig even deeper than they have ever before to truly answer these prompts in the way that they need to be answered. These are very hefty prompts that require a specific kind of process. So then what key elements make up a strong essay? When it comes to the elements or components of a strong essay, there are four different aspects that I advise to kind of keep in mind. Firstly, being core values. So the student must show, got another person coming in. So the student must show who they are through delving into what it is that they value. These are the beliefs, passions, and sort of priorities of the student. And for my person who just joined, we are now going over components of what makes up a strong essay. So admissions officers want to be able to read a student's essay and really understand what matters most to them and why. The why is really big. So next we have insight, which is the kind of the so what moments. So this is when a student goes beyond just kind of narrating events, right? So after reviewing so many essays, speaking personally, I can say that this is usually one that students kind of struggle with a lot. So I'll sit down and read an entire essay of a student kind of just telling a story, maybe just going through the motions, and I get to the end and I have to send them feedback that is usually something along the lines of, okay, so what is it that you're trying to say here, right? Why is this story important? What are you getting at here? This can be very, very hard for students, right? Especially being at an age where this is really the first time that they've been asked to write and really reflect on themselves. So students must highlight their lessons learned, transformations undergone, or newfound perspectives gained when sharing their experiences in order to craft that really compelling admissions essay. You can't just recount a story or recount someone else's story and expect the admissions officer to be left with that compelling story and the message that you're trying to send. So then we have craft. Craftsmanship is kind of vital in essay writing. It involves that clear structure, refined language, and very intentional choices. So a well-crafted essay is going to capture that attention from the start. So we're going to have that coherence throughout and really leave that lasting impression on the readers. So students must pay attention to that organization of the essay, the precision, the language, and the usage of literary devices, right? So every word should serve its purpose and contribute to the overall impact of the essay. And then last is going to be vulnerability, which is probably one of the most powerful tools in essay writing, especially powerful with it when it comes to admissions essays, scholarships, and supplemental questions. Opening up about personal challenges, setbacks, or maybe moments of growth will really allow the admissions readers to connect with your student at a human level. So as I said in the beginning, the admissions essay is really giving your student a chance to personalize, characterize, humanize their college application. So we're not going to get those kinds of human aspects when it comes to just turning in a transcript or just turning in demographics, right? So this is going to foster that necessary empathy, right? And that authenticity that will create that compelling narrative and further resonate with the admissions officers. So again, vulnerability really is just going to showcase that resilience and that self-awareness that they're looking for upcoming first-year students. And again, another point I do want to mention is that while I'm going over pretty standardized things to keep in mind, it is really important for students to write in their own voice. So it's important that a student finds their own rhythm, right? There is not a perfect formula to admissions essay writing. So I don't want anyone to go into this with the intentions of writing an AP essay, whereas AP essays kind of have that really specific formula. You need to do this in the first paragraph, this in the middle, and this at the end. College admissions essays are not like that. They should not look the same, and they will not look the same. So it is very important for you that your student finds their own flavor, their own style, their own rhythm, their own flow. And we can't compare and contrast when it comes to other people's essays as much because everyone's should look very different. So again, I just want to say that to reiterate that while these pieces of advice can be generalized, I don't want it to turn into something where students may feel like they have to be very rigid when it comes to their writing. All right, so for the next portion of the presentation, I really just wanted to get into some do's and don'ts for the admissions essay. So again, obviously these are all very bigger conversations and I would love to continue them one-on-one if anyone needs that. Right now, I'm just kind of putting some general tips out there and some general reminders that I think are beneficial to keep in mind as your student begins the writing process. So I wanted to start with the do's and don'ts for students because I know we have some students on the call and I know students may watch this, and then we'll get into the do's and don'ts for parents as well after. And I also just think it's important for parents to understand what kind of advice
Crosby,
points are being put towards
no, que es para los papás.
whoever is.
El
Could we
colegio,
actually turn our mics off, please? I'm hearing some kind of interference.
¿Ya lo viste?
Rolando, could we turn it off? I'm sorry, I just don't want it to end up and interrupt the presentation. So when it comes to this, I just think it's important for parents to also hear what their students are hearing so that you guys can kind of further understand what it means to write a admissions essay. So starting with the do's start early, right? So as mentioned, students can begin as early as they'd like, but I'd really recommend beginning your brainstorming in junior years so that your topics are kind of fresh. So starting early really is just that key to success. It's going to set you up, hold yourself accountable. Begin brainstorming and drafting your essay well in advance to allow that ample time for revisions and edits. I know me personally, I think I had like 3 different essays just because it helped me in terms, I had enough time, I gave myself enough time, and it helped me understand what topic was going to better communicate who I was, right? So again, with the procrastination, it can also lead to that unnecessary stress, right? And it may compromise the quality of your essay. Do be authentic. So authenticity is paramount in your college essay, meaning it is kind of the bread and butter and the backbone of your college application almost. So be genuine and true to yourself when sharing your experiences and your insights. Admissions officers, again, they're going to value that authenticity. They're going to value hearing your own voice, your unique voice, and your unique perspective. Please pay close attention to the essay prompts and the guidelines provided by each college or university. Make sure you understand the requirements and tailor your essay accordingly. Adhering to those instructions is going to demonstrate that your attention to detail is going to demonstrate your commitment to that application process. So I think this is another aspect that can actually be pretty overlooked, actually. surprisingly. I think what happens is a lot of students, there's so many things you're responding to, especially with supplemental questions. And supplemental questions, for my people who don't know, every college is going to have their specific questions that they ask. For example, Chapel Hill has a ton. So when it comes to writing those, they can be very specific. So sometimes students may use responses for those to other ones, which is like fine. But what can happen is the prompts are kind of tailored differently. So I always have to ask, okay, are we responding to the prompt specifically, right? Is this what they're specifically asking you? So it's important to really read over exactly what they're asking and making sure that you are responding accordingly. Because again, it's just going to show that extra level of tact. And then lastly, always seek feedback. So have your writing reviewed at least twice or even 3 times, even more if you want, to really ensure your grammar, your syntax, your narrative, and just they're all working together coherently and they're meshing and they're making sense. So then we're going to explore the don'ts for students, right? So one of the most crucial don'ts is, as I said, to avoid procrastination, right? Waiting until that last minute is to start working on your essay can really lead to a very rushed writing experience and add on more stress than what you need to be. Plan ahead. Manage your time effectively and really allow that ample room for brainstorming, drafting, revisions, etc. Plagiarism. So don't ever plagiarize, right? Plagiarism is never acceptable in college admissions essays. It's never acceptable ever. They're especially specific about it in university. The plagiarism policies in university are very, very strict and harsh. So avoid copying anyone else's work or using unauthorized content. Your essay really should be an authentic reflection of your experiences and perspectives. I know that in the age right now, AI is really big and it may be easy to go to ChatGPT and get your paragraphs written, but I really urge my students to take advantage of your ability and your privilege of being able to speak for yourself. Use this chance and be confident about your abilities and be excited about talking about yourself and really being able to say to the admissions officer that this is who I am and I wrote this and this is what I care about, right? I always try to advise my students that yes, this stuff can be kind of scary and it's a big task to have to write about yourself and talk about yourself in such a big way. But this is the beginning of the rest of your life, right? And instead of maybe fearing that or running away from it, just tackle it head on and be positive. Be positive and be hopeful about what this can mean for you, right? It can open so many doors if you really take a hold of this process and just challenge yourself, right? So the last one, while it's important to be authentic, avoid including irrelevant or overly personal details in your essay. So focus on that quality over the quantity, right? So we're wanting to choose very meaningful anecdotes and insights that align with the essay prompt and showcase your strengths, right? So this is another thing that I think students or I have to give a lot of feedback on. As mentioned, for juniors, this is probably a student's first time they are really being asked about them to write about themselves. So sometimes a student can kind of run with that and sort of try to fit anything and everything possible into their paper because of the excitement of it all, which I think is amazing, right? But there's definitely ways that we can be a little bit more polished when it comes to writing this narrative. So the admissions essay is definitely not a tell-all. It's a very more concise, intentional, encapsulated narrative and storytelling that you want to have the storytelling piece, but also the why of. So if you're fitting everything, if you're trying to fit everything that's ever happened to you in there, it may just come across as like a journal entry rather than an actual narrative, if that makes sense. So just make sure you're being intentional with your narrative. And of course, here at Crosby, we're going to work with you guys and we will get to a narrative that is intentional and captures you, but is also has the clear and concise why of it all. And then with spell check. So spell check is a useful tool, of course, but it is not foolproof. So don't solely rely on automated spelling and grammar checks. Really take the time to proofread your essay, read it numerous times, read it out loud, read it in your head, read it to people, read it to yourself. Check for your grammar, your punctuation, coherence. That flow is really important. And of course, just always seek feedback from others to catch any kind of overlooked errors. All right, and then we're going to get into the parents. It is your turn for the do's and the don'ts. So, when it comes to the do's for parents, I always recommend provide that ongoing encouragement and emotional support to your student throughout this essay writing process. Let them know that you believe in their abilities and you believe and that you're there to help them succeed, right? I always say when it comes to parents in this essay writing process, you want to be their support. You want to be their safety net. You don't want to be the figure that is kind of controlling or leading them. You just want to make sure that they know that you are there if they need that extra support. So assist your student in brainstorming ideas and themes for their essay, but really encourage them to take that ownership of that story. So as I was saying, when it comes to getting students excited and letting them know that this is an exciting ability, an experience to really talk about themselves. I want parents to also be doing that at home, right? Get them excited about this. Let them know that it's okay to take ownership of their story and who they are and what they've gone through up until this point, right? Help them explore their experiences, their values, and their aspirations to really identify those compelling essay topics. We always recommend students to ask their friends, ask family, ask teachers ask them what they think of you. How would they describe you? And for parents, I think that this is your opportunity to really tell your students how much they mean to you, right? And tell them of the qualities that you see in them that maybe they don't see of themselves. So it's always about support when it comes to this. And then, of course, offer that constructive feedback on drafts of their essay, really focusing on clarity and organization and authenticity. Highlight their strengths and provide suggestions for improvement while, again, respecting their own unique voice and their own perspective. And then allow your students to take the lead in writing their essay and making decisions about its content. So again, this really is just, respecting their autonomy and encourage them to express themselves authentically. This is their chance, right? This is again the beginning of their life where they can really stake a claim. Acknowledge and celebrate your students' efforts and achievements in completing their college essays. As we went over, those are really hefty prompts, and this is not a very simple process, right? This is something that requires accountability, commitment, right, and resilience. And I really suggest for you parents to take this time to celebrate those milestones and understand what it takes for them to get to this point. So recognize that hard work, recognize that dedication that they've put into the entire college application process. When it comes to the don'ts for for parents, excuse me, avoid taking over that writing process and kind of imposing or suggesting too much of your own ideas and expectations on your student's essay. I know that it's probably as parents, you probably want to control for as much as you can. You want to make sure that they get what they need and they get to where they want to go, but just encourage them to take ownership of their own narrative and express themselves authentically. Again, it's their time to kind of shine, and believe in their own process. Believe that whatever needs to happen for them will happen, and it'll happen in the way that it needs to happen. And this is their chance to curate what happens for themselves. Refrain from comparing your student's essay to others or putting kind of that undue pressure on them. So again, it's probably maybe easy to fall into the trap of, um, you know, talking about maybe their older sibling, an older cousin who went through this process, and maybe you should write an essay like they did, or too much of that kind of ends up stifling their own creativity and their own process. So every student's journey and voice really is unique, right? And we need to celebrate their individuality and work with what they already have rather than telling them that they need to have this, if that makes sense. So the comparison, the being hard on oneself, it doesn't work for yourself. It's not going to work being hard on them. So it's more so about we need to lift them up while they start this summer, and really get them excited and work with them. Um, yeah, and just really celebrate that individuality because now is the time for them to get confident about it. And then again, provide that constructive criticism and encouragement rather than super harsh criticism and negative remarks. Focus on highlighting those strengths and offering suggestions for improvement in just a very supportive manner. And then respect your students' voice and choices in their essay again. Allow them to showcase that uniqueness, embrace that individuality, and express themselves with that confidence. Because now it's just, again, this essay, yes, we're writing an essay, but this is, in my opinion, after working so much with essay writing, this is such a great exercise for students. And we really want them to just be excited about it and have that autonomy because it is going to translate so much into their first year of college. All right. So really, we're going to kind of start wrapping up. And as we wrap up, I always try to incorporate some kind of resources to really point everyone in the right direction. So this is for both students, parents, and we'll kind of talk about planning and what's going on at Crosby this summer when it comes to college prep and essay writing. Yeah, so we're just going to jump right in with that. So, College Essay Guy is really just a great resource that I always point students to. I use it myself with my own college writing. I'm applying for grad school, so I use it as well. I cannot recommend them enough. There are endless free articles, example essays, they even do. They even have pointers for when it comes to writing in your activities in your application. So your students are going to have to report their volunteering hours, their activities when it comes to clubs and extracurriculars. So they even have pointers on how to write that. So it's just a really great hub to look at and to start with when you are trying to find resources. And again, I can't recommend it enough. College Essay Advisors is just another great website to go for free resources. As much research and kind of reading that you can do, the better with this kind of thing. And then, of course, we have YouTube. It's also is always going to be a great resource for us, right? So any kind of tutorials. I know a lot of students who go to certain schools, they may even recite their entire essay that they use to get into maybe the more prestigious schools. So even a simple search of things like college admissions essay or Common App personal essay will get you thousands of really informational results. So can't recommend YouTube enough either. And then lastly, of course, Crosby Scholars. So as I briefly mentioned, I do a lot of essay review here at Crosby, and I handle the essay review service that we have, which is a totally free essay review service that our students can use as many times as they want. We review the college admissions essay, we review supplemental questions, we review scholarship question responses, we review, if your student is applying to a job shadowing opportunity, a summer opportunity, just anything where a student is have to respond to having to do a written response to, we will review it as many times as they need, and it's all free. We have a handful of very generous volunteer reviewers as well throughout the community who also help with the kind of the flow of this service. So when the time comes for you guys to use that, I really recommend it. You can reach out straight to me for it, and we can kind of get something going there. And I also have to say, when it comes to the essay review service, we guarantee that it'll get to you in 7 days. We can't guarantee less than. We might be able to get it to you quicker than that, but we try to ask for you to give us a good 7 business days. All right. So this summer, the junior senior program will be hosting our workshop Wednesdays, which are going to be geared around prepping for college applications. So we will be having test prep, so SAT, ACT practice. I really recommend signing up for that if you know you're going to have some coming up in the summer and the fall, as well as a Common App walkthrough. So like I said, Common App is that website where your students are going to go to apply to every school that they're trying to get into. It's going to show you everything in terms of supplemental questions, contact information for the schools, all that fun stuff. And so we're literally going to sit down and we're going to go through each tab and really talk about what the Common App is asking for you to report. I also want to direct your attention to our 2 different dates that will be concerned with college essay writing. So I myself will be hosting these sessions. The first one is going to be on June 26th. That's going to be all about sort of brainstorming, right? So explaining what the college essay even is, similar to what I went over in this webinar. So brainstorming exercises and really just getting these rising seniors to think about how to craft their essay and how they can start. The second date is going to be July 24th, and that is going to be, a chance to reconvene. We're going to get your essays reviewed. I'll sit down with the students. You guys can workshop together, and it's just a great way to just, bring yourself to work on it during the summer because I know it can be hard. So, we're hoping that these workshops are allowing your students to stay on task this summer and just hopefully get majority of their application components finished up before that fall semester picks up, honestly. So registration is now open in the portal. So go ahead and sign up for those. We would love to see you guys there. It really is just a great opportunity to stay on task. I can't recommend it enough. And if you're having trouble with registering, just reach out to me and we'll get you signed up. All right. And then I also wanted to highlight more of our special programming during the summer. So we have Try It Tuesdays, and these are special career exploration days, and your students may have participated within them in the past, where your student can just get a chance to figure out what kind of paths that they are maybe wanting to take in the future. So as you can see, we have fields that are ranging from education, healthcare, computer science, humanities, all that fun stuff. So these are also open for registration now in the portal. Sign up now, as registration is pretty limited and they are filling up quick. So I would recommend to go ahead and just take a look at these things. They are just great opportunities. So yes, workshop Wednesdays, Try It Tuesdays, and we're also hoping during the summer to also have kind of virtual components to accompany these workshop Wednesdays. Those are still in the midst, but just be on the lookout and be on the lookout in your email and in the portal. And then, of course, your juniors should have been assigned a Crosby advisor. So even if they can't make it to these things, they should be able to reach out to them. If you can't, reach out to me, reach out to Jennifer Jameson, Rachel Reynolds, and the junior senior program. Someone will be in office and someone will get your question answered. All right. So with that, that wraps up things, honestly. I want to thank everyone for popping in tonight. I really hope that you guys found this kind of useful. Again, any questions, comments we can go over right now, but of course on the screen there's going to be my email. So shoot me an email anytime when it comes to essay writing. I love talking about essay writing. We also have the Crosby Scholars Iredell handle for Instagram on the page, as well as that is our website, crosbyscholarsIredell.com. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. If any students or parents have any questions or we want to open up a conversation about anything, we can also stay on the call and kind of hash things out. So stop sharing now. All right. Hopefully that helped you guys. I really hope that that was like informational. Do you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to go over? Because I am totally